So after we've discussed what the purpose is of the page, after we have identified the top 3 purposes or goals of the page, and after we have gotten a really good idea on what the number 1 goal is of the page, then we can then have a very solid foundation on what should be above the fold. Now, when we're dealing with what should appear above the fold, we need to keep the main thing the main thing. And what that means is to not bury the unique value proposition. We need to emphasize it. We need to keep the value proposition customer focused, okay, not seller focused. And we need to state clearly and plainly the best benefit that the reader will get from the influencer. So after we've identified what the number 1 purpose is, the content above the fold should reflect that. And the call to action must also reflect that. And normally the call to action should be not marriage but a first date. What that means is, if, for example, you are selling a $50,000 coaching package that lasts for a year, you don't just say that right away as soon as someone lands on your homepage, right? You might have a strategy first where you establish a value first, and you first demonstrate your expertise and why you are trustworthy. You might want to get them to see some case studies first so that they can relate how you have exactly contributed to the lives of other people that are in a similar situation as them, or are having or used to have the problems that they're now struggling with, and how exactly you helped, right? So you don't just say, hey, bye now. You normally say, here's my podcast, subscribe to my podcast, or here are my top most popular articles, and read those. And once you have digested my top content, you might want to download this free resource that I've made for you, so subscribe here. So normally those are the things that we want to emphasize above the fold. Hook them into the influencer's world through some value-driven content. Also, above the fold, it's very important to establish relevance within 5 seconds. What does relevance mean? Relevance is basically when someone lands on a homepage, the number 1 thing they're asking themselves, whether they're aware of it or not, is how is this relevant to me? What's in it for me? And if they don't find a good enough answer to that question, they will click away from the page. They will click bounce. That's why it's very important for the above the fold, the content above the fold, to answer the question, who the influencer is, what the influencer does, and what's in it for the user. How exactly is the user's life going to benefit from that? If we fail to do that, they will bounce and they will click away. So that's what should be above the fold. Next, I will discuss what the top tips are when creating homepage, so that we make sure that all our homepages get results.